we want to officially welcome everybody to Laugh and Learn today. As we can see, things are a little different. Flame is traveling on the road. Nick, you're actually back in the office. So you got a green screen background today. And I just made it back in time to get here because I got back from Florida yesterday. So we've all been kind of scattered all across the place. So how is your week going, Nick?
Lauren, it's actually going well. But this is one of the things, you took off. I think you took off like on Thursday, right?
Wednesday night, yeah.
Wednesday night, yeah. Because, when you were out there, Flame and I were talking, like, we got to make sure we keep that prayer cloth and prayer warriors out there for you because you're traveling away from home and things have gotten so crazy now and again, Lauren, I say this, I know you're a grown woman, but we still see you as young. Yes. So we sit there, we're like, we got to watch out for you just to make sure you're okay. So I'm just glad you made it back. But my weekend was pretty good. I didn't do anything outside of the norm. I was kind of here. I knew that we'd be coming back into the studio this week. So a lot of it was preparing for that and just trying to be in place for that and getting back into the mental space of actually, coming back into a real office and all of that. So yeah, but it was a good week.
That's good. Yeah, for me, honestly, I was more so concerned about traveling before the Derek Chauvin verdict came down. That was my main thing that I was concerned about. So the fact that it came down on Tuesday and then nothing crazy really erupted. And I think, as a whole, we all got the verdict that we wanted. I was able to fly on Wednesday, like with a sigh of relief. And plus I was going to Florida. Y'all know Florida is crazy. So it was, everything works and happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer of that. So I'm glad everything worked out for sure.
And it was a successful trip as well?
Oh my God, yeah. So I guess I can kind of update you because we haven't talked yet. I did the Florida AIDS Walk. This is from my other job, you guys. And actually we had an AIDS Walk and a music festival, all socially distanced in Florida, which... Some people had some things to say about that, but we got to stay safe. But the music festival component was actually with Little Kim and Trina.
Yes.
So I got to work with them, a very enjoyable experience. As always, events are very hectic, especially on the talent front. But overall, it was so successful. Kim brought her daughter with her, and they had a little moment on stage. It actually went viral. It ended up on the Shade Room with like over 4 million views and Hollywood Unlocked and everything else. So overall, it was a super successful event, and we actually raised $1.9 million.
That is awesome. I think one of the things, too, that makes that so special is that both Trina and Kim have been in the game for a while.
Yeah.
They really are. I believe they are icons. They really help to kind of lay the groundwork for so many female artists in the industry, just beyond rap, just being female who are writing, producing their own material, moving forward and staying viable in a highly competitive field. The game is tough, so yeah, definitely.
And the thing is, they're sweet and personable. That's always what I look for because I work with a myriad of people in talent, but Kim is a sweetheart and Trina is too. So I always appreciate, folks like that because, some people can be uppity like, oh, talk to my manager, don't speak to me.
Absolutely.
They were not like that at all. Hell, Trina drove herself to the event and was like, I don't need ground transportation. I'm fine. So they're really lovely individuals and special people to the hip hop game. So it was a special event.
Catch up, folks, because I know you kind of keep an eye on everything there. Where is Flame today and why isn't she with us right now? Catch us up.
So Flame is in Atlanta, which I'm sure some of you guys have already seen because she went live for her drag show yesterday. But Flame went to Atlanta because she had a drag show and she's actually on her way to the studio because she's going to be multitasking. She's going to do a live event with T.S. Madison and Sophia Kelly as well. So she's going to pop in on here for our hour and then she's going to pop over to the other show. But she's en route and of course Lyft has been acting crazy lately. So a couple of lifts canceled on her. So she's just trying to make it to the studio so she doesn't have any internet connection issues. But long story short, she's in Atlanta working. So
you know what? I'm glad to hear that that's not just here. Everybody's been talking about Lyft and Uber have been acting really crazy lately. Because, for the longest, I didn't have a car, so I depended on Uber and Lyft. And things have really kind of changed. I'm not sure what has caused that change, but it's definitely been a problem even here. So I'm surprised that that's the case even in Atlanta. But clearly there's something happening with the system overall, if that's what everyone is experiencing.
Yeah, I think it's across the board because it's just not Atlanta. There was issues with Lyft in Florida that I was having. Like, it's been everybody I know of just seems to be having issues. So I don't know what's going on with their system. I know people are biting drivers' necks and different things. So I don't know what's going on with Lyft.
We see, and we talked, I'm going back to Flame here for a second. We see and talk to Flame multiple times a day. You and I both, it's just, But there's something about Flame on stage that I particularly enjoy, and it makes me fall in love with Flame all over again. And I don't know what it is. I've told Flame that. I said, you here with that hat and those glasses eating bacon, I don't know who that is. But Flame will say, I love it, Lauren. I love seeing Flame perform. And Flame did something in a pantsuit that, her stylist, I'm not going to say stylist, her designer, Martin Elliott, with whom she's worked for years. They go back and forth, but I swear, it's like if they're not yelling at each other, they're not communicating.
It's not going to work if they're not yelling at each other. The magic's not going to happen. We know that.
It's not gonna happen. And every time Martin pulls, I don't know how Martin does it, but he gets those clothes to fit like a glove, and it just looks fantastic.
Yeah, Martin can sew his ass off for sure. I just got to be honest. He can sew his ass off. We got to say it right because it's impressive the work that he does. So
in such a short period of time too.
Yeah,
and it's Flame just. I wanted to do this, that, and the other. Okay, and then he just gets at that machine and he just does it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So I know I saw Flame pop up that she's here, but she's not coming in yet. So I'm gonna just keep inviting her. But in the meantime, I think we can definitely, start the show.
All right.
I want to start more so with like our less heavy topics. I feel like because it just seems like every week we've been having such a heavy show, but we just have to address what's happening in the world. Because I feel like if we don't have these, tough conversations, then, what type of content are we putting out? We have to really have intention and love what we're doing. So let's start with the lighter stuff. And then, if Flame pops in, great. Nick, but I'm going to turn it over to you, though, to get us started.
If we circle back because Flame wants to join in on something, because Flame probably is listening and just can't jump in right now.
Yeah.
And we know how that goes. But, Lauren, you just touched on something because some of the feedback we've gotten, and I do take the time, you guys, I want you to know, I take the time to read the comments. And I've heard a couple of people say, it's the same show week after week. Everything is so heavy and you all used to laugh. And we still want to laugh. I think that Flame and Lauren and I would argue that, trust me, we want to laugh. We would love to do nothing but have a show maybe where we're talking about the Oscars or the NFL draft and all the things, but so much continues to happen that we both, that all three of us feel affects the community, that it is, it's incumbent upon us to have the conversation because we know you all are having the conversation. And that's what Flame has always said from day one. She wanted Laugh and Learn to be a conversation. So join in, jump in, let us know. If you find a lighter moment, please share it. We beg of you to join us and help us to keep the conversation light and fun, but we also don't want to neglect our duty and the opportunity that we have with the platform to speak on things that affect the community. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump in there with something I feel like is a little bit. Wait a second.
Wait, you touched on it. And I honestly forgot. What did you think about the Oscars? Before we get to, I know we're going to talk about Joe Biden in a second. What did you think about the Oscars? I got to ask you, Nick.
You know what, Lauren, I watched a little bit of it and I'm going to tell you, I didn't hate it, but it didn't keep me compelled either, right? That makes sense. I think what I liked was, what did I like? What I liked was seeing Viola Davis. Like, I love Viola. There's something about her, just her comfort in her skin, her struggle, her story, all of that just works for me, right? But I think, Lauren, I've gotten to a point where, and I'm not sure if social media is the reason why, or the fact that there's so many different platforms to see things. I think I'm just over celebrities that I no longer sit back in awe when they hit the stage like used to. There was a time, I think those who may be also like me, maybe born in the 70s, can sit back and tell you that there was a time when you sat there, you waited with bated breath to see what so-and-so would wear or what they would look like because you weren't oversaturated with celebrities. You weren't seeing them every day on Instagram, on Facebook, or whatever it is there, So I think that because we see it so much, Lauren, I'm not as in awe as I used to be or as enamored as I once was. But having said that, there's something about just seeing so many young Black faces up there occupying those spaces that used to seem so revered to, and early on. Daniel Kaluuya, I always mispronounce it. Kaluuya. Loved seeing him, his mama, his sister. Yeah. And Lauren, I know it sounds cheesy, but I can't wait to do something like that and have my mama sitting up there watching, and I could feel his joy.
Your mom didn't go with you to the Emmys? You didn't actually attend? What happened with that?
I did not attend because I didn't. So that was it. But I would have dragged my mama right up in there.
About to say, Miss Rosetta didn't go to the Emmys with you. What happened?
She sure would. But it's one of those things where, Lord, I just think that those moments are just so special. When I see these faces that look more like you and me, they're receiving and celebrating that joy.
Yeah.
What did you think?
There was definitely some highlights at the Oscars for me, like Glenn Close having that moment with Lil Rel doing the butt and gave the backstory of it and basically said Spike Lee was robbed. Definitely a highlight for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I mean, in a similar vein, Nick, I'm not celebrity struck or starstruck, you know what I mean? And I don't think it's because like I work with talent a lot. It's just I've never really been that way.
Right.
But I will say is what I do watch these award shows for is the fashion. I'm always like looking at like what can I gag at? Like what are the costume, designs? They are technically costumes to me, but what is the fashion looking like for the season of, the award season or whatever. So that's more so what I'm being attentive to. On a downside, I was very sad that Andra Day didn't win. I really felt like she should have won Best Actress for that category. She gave an impeccable performance for Billie Holiday, and just her performance was just a parallel opposite for me from like Lady Sings the Blues with Diana Ross, because while it was a true story of Billie Holiday, it just what Andra Day did, it was just a different raw form that I saw Billie Holiday in a different light, and it wasn't anything negative. I thought it was something positive in a way, despite all of the turmoil and tragedy that she had to go through. So I just really felt like Andra Day didn't get her flowers last night. So
Lauren,
it was very upsetting.
I think we're talking about two very different movies, and both can be great and both can be celebrated in their own way. Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
It's like The Wiz is not The Oz, is not The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
right?
It's not.
Those are they're two very different things. Absolutely, I completely agree.
And of course, Chadwick Boseman got robbed. That was honestly that was huge for me. Like, I felt like they centered the whole Oscars around Chadwick Boseman, and then not to give him that award was kind of just like, why did that happen? And and then at the end of the program, I don't know if you saw too, Nick, the Oscars basically explained how they select their individual folks. It's almost like they had to justify what they did because they knew they were wrong in a lot of ways. So I felt like they gave us, it was a little bit, they gave us a foot and not our mile that we deserved. So it was like, here's enough to kind of silence you guys to say that, we're not so white anymore, but we're not going to give you all that you deserve here. We still got to, stick to our foundation of what the Oscars is. That's just my thoughts.
Lauren, you kind of mentioned also, you touched on fashion in there. And I'm going to say this. Can we agree that a couple of those brothers wore some really nice looking things there? Like, and this is what, I've had this conversation with my mom. Everything doesn't look good on everybody. Like, there were a couple of things, like I couldn't have gotten away with it, but it looked good. I was like, I forget the brother's name who wore the fuchsia. Like, and you like sit there, you're like, what was he thinking? But it looked good on him. Yeah. It looked good on his skin. And Lakeith,
Stansfield.
That looked good. I'm like, you know what? But I also think, it helps to be, a taller, thinner brother wearing, what he wore. But I just thought it looked good. And, because I think that one of the challenges when you're a bigger guy is finding clothes that fit appropriately, because you just can't wear the high ankle pants and things like. I look better dressed more like Michael Strahan, nice simple traditional suit, keeping it, just keeping it clean, and doing that. So yeah,
know your body. I feel that.
Know your body. You got to know your body. One of the things I wanted to jump on in there with, Lauren, I brought it up simply because later this week, we're expecting Wednesday, President Biden to make his first address to joint sessions of Congress. President Biden nears the end of his first 100 days in office, with a slight majority of Americans approving of his performance and supporting his majority policy initiative. On Wednesday, he will address a joint session of Congress. He's expected to outline his American Families Plan, which will reportedly be paid for by tax hikes on wealthy Americans. And just breaking down those numbers, 52% of adults say they approve of the job Biden is doing, compared with 42% who disapprove. So I think more than anything, I just wanted to throw it out there. I think I personally believe that one of the reasons Biden's numbers are in a positive direction, I personally think, is because we're seeing less of him. I think that there's something about his lack of desire to be in front of the camera, like the former administration, has worked to his advantage. I think in many ways, the bar for President Biden has been placed so low by so many. There's still jokes about his age. There's still jokes about him falling. There's always so many references to that I think that anytime he can actually stand upright and not slobber over himself, people consider it a win, So I think that's one of the reasons why his numbers are so high.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that within the first 100 days, like he's nearing it. He's not even there yet. I think he's done a lot for, the country. I have to say that. I think in some ways he's definitely playing to his strengths and saying that, hey, this may not be something I need to tackle. So he's kind of given those big policy initiatives to Kamala Harris and kind of wanting her to spearhead that. But I also say that to say, too, is I think, and this is, again, my opinion, I don't have any sources or anybody confirm this. I don't know if Biden wants to, run again for president in 2024. So I think he's strategically giving Kamala Harris some of those big policy initiatives so that way she can kind of step out of on her own accord if she chooses to run in 2024. But I think as a whole, though, he's doing a great job. He inherited a screwed up administration, not just from the economy, just the policies that were previously implemented. He inherited a screwed up justice system from the DOJ. So I think as a whole, he's trying to fare the best way that he can. So I want to give Joe Biden kudos today, even for, handling COVID. Nick, I don't mind sharing this with you because Flame is ready. She's about to come in a second. So we can kind of have this moment really quickly. I ended up actually getting vaccinated. And I know I haven't even told you that too. So we can, quickly do this because I know Flame's not going to talk about this. But I did end up getting vaccinated. It was a personal choice, like we've always said, but it was something I had to do because I was traveling for work. So I don't know if you want to share your story too, but I got to give kudos to Joe Biden. He said some things we may not want to do, but, we kind of had to do it. And so because of my own personal reasons, I ended up doing that. And I can't lie, I do feel like I feel a little safer, especially considering I went to Florida. So, and that's really why I did it. But yeah.
Well, good for you. And did you have any adverse side effects? Anything you want to talk about, share?
It was terrible.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It felt like I had food poisoning for my second dose. I was very tired. I had a headache. It wasn't the best feeling. I don't like feeling like I have food poisoning, and it's very painful for me. So I'm not getting any more shots. I don't care about a booster. I'm not doing anything else. I'm done.
You're like, I'm done.
I'm done. Look, I'm definitely done. But yeah.
But you also, and help me here, Lauren, you also did it to also protect those around you, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So like you guys, we've all said, like I still live at home with my parents, personal reasons. I've got stuff going on. So I had to get vaccinated because I got to protect other people. I just do, so that's what I did.
And as you know, I was going back and forth to California to the show and things like that. I was traveling so much. So I did get my Pfizer. I did Pfizer. I did both
Moderna.
shots of Pfizer. I completed my round back in February,
right.
And I shared that because I went through the VA. Mm-hmm. So I was, and there were people who wouldn't show up and they're like, hey, Mr. Smith, we can do you, but we close in 15 minutes. I'll be there in 8. So I ran up there and got mine, and once you were on the first shot, you automatically were listed for the second. So yeah, like you, I've had no adverse. I've had no adverse side effects, and I have tried to give space to people who are still trying to make that decision for themselves. But I am happy to be vaccinated. So let's go ahead and bring Flame.
So let's bring Flame on in. She's ready. So, and I just wanted to get that out the way because I knew she was going to be like, I'm not talking about that. So we'll put it out there.
Well, hello, Flamettes. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Look who it is.
Because I'm good. I look good. I know such thing. I'm in the studio with Sophia McIntosh, the world famous, and George and Gordon. It's 3 niggas and me in here.
Would you tell Sophia I have been a fan for years?
Sophia, Nick, and Lauren said they're fans of yours. Fuck her. The bitch didn't even send me a call. Fuck this bitch. We had a great time last night if you were in traffic, and we will be performing tonight for the 21st anniversary of Stars of the Century. Here y'all go.
Hey, y'all. This nigga been jealous of me since
I love it.
How y'all doing?
So
good. How are you?
I never hurt myself. I knew I had laugh alert, so I brought my ring light to do this. So in between gigs, we're going to go. So what are we talking about right now? Because I got about 2 minutes for Sylvia to go live.
We want you to go ahead and let people know what's going on with you. Lauren and I were just filling in until you kind of got here, Flame.
It ain't about me right now. It's about North Carolina, Virginia, and Ohio. No, let me tell you something. I said last week on Laugh and Learn, if they give us 1, they're going to want 10. 15 minutes after the decision came down, guilty, they shot Ma'Khia Bryant and killed her dead. First of all, we had to keep looking at all these different stories. We had to keep looking at all these different ways because they were trying to segue to find a way to say that the officer was innocent. Then they went back and researched the officer's past, kind of like what they do to the victim. This nigga, the officer, was a decorated marksman from the military. This nigga was William Tell. This nigga could shoot an apple off somebody's head from 1,000,000 paces. So when he came out with all this, he wasn't ready. He pulled up into commotion. He was a sharpshooter. He could have shot that knife out her hand because he was trained and decorated to do that. That's not what he wanted to do. If you want to know the truth, he wanted a twofer. He shot at her 4 times because he thought he was going to get her and the girl that she was going to stab. You think I care that y'all don't like what I said? I don't give a fuck.
Well, I'll jump in here because I think it's interesting that you say that too, Flame, because I did see on the news, somebody asked, well, aren't you guys, marksmen that you guys can shoot in certain areas? And I believe that, I don't remember.
Trained and decorated.
Yeah. And so I believe that the police chief of Ohio basically said, well, we can't really do that because we can't train our officers to be that way. So we have to make it general and they just have to assess the threat. So that was kind of the way of them trying to backpedal basically what you're saying in terms of this is why he shot her 4 times.
He thought he was going to get a twofer.
Mm-hmm.
So those who are joining, Flame was talking about this spate of violence that we've had. And we're talking specifically about the shooting incident with Ma'Khia Bryant. Ma'Khia Bryant, on the same day that the verdict came down in Minneapolis and found a former police officer guilty of murder, and George Floyd, a 16-year-old girl was shot and killed by an officer in Columbus, Ohio. Ma'Khia Bryant was shot Tuesday afternoon by a Columbus police officer responding to a call for help at her foster home. Authorities quickly released the body cam footage and the 911 calls, and they identified the officer immediately as Nicholas Reardon. And Flame mentioned, Lauren, how, he was a sharpshooter in the military before joining the police department. Mm-hmm. And that has definitely been, I think what has happened more than anything with this particular case, I have heard more conversation about this one than I have some of the others. Mm-hmm. It seems to me that members are divided. I think that there are people who have felt like officers for years have said that there are usually gray areas to these things. And I think this is the first one where people, even sitting back watching, have even said that, okay, this one is a little gray to some people. Some people don't feel as though this one is as cut and dry as, say, maybe what we saw when we saw the killing of George Floyd, that we know that there's no way to spin that in my mind. Speaking only for myself, I think that Derek Chauvin and George Floyd, to me, was, not to be callous, but it was very black and white. To me, there was no gray in that. I understand why some people are struggling with how they feel or what should have happened in the Ma'Khia Bryant situation.
Well, my thing is this, as a whole, I'm tired of waking up and hearing about another innocent black young life being taken. That's just kind of where I am at this point. And I've seen so many, we're going to call them parallel videos, where, for instance, there was this individual, he actually had a knife. He was a white man. Police literally were trying to lunge at him to protect him with their bare hands, so that way they didn't have to, discharge a taser or fire their gun. And this man was actually lunging to stab these officers. He wasn't shot. He wasn't killed, but he was this old white man. So, of course, there's privilege there. But yet again, we have this young white officer that's going into a black neighborhood, just sees that Ma'Khia Bryant has a knife on her and decides to shoot her. And the unfortunate thing is this whole situation erupted because apparently the sisters were fighting over who was going to clean up the house. Right. So the fact that it was something so small and just something so it wasn't that big of a deal to have her life ended, and she's the one that called the police for help. We always say it's the police's job to protect and serve us, and that's not what they do. So the fact Lauren, that go ahead.
No, and I think that this goes back to what we've talked about from day one, because even language matters, right? Yeah. Because, like you said, and you're right, that, this young girl's, this innocent life should not have to be taken. Absolutely. Period. I'm going to argue that even if she isn't innocent, it shouldn't end in her death. You get what I'm saying there? So what happens is it becomes a situation where they have put the onus on us to decide, well, maybe she should have did, she should. How about we take another look at training? Because I do believe that possibly de-escalation, I don't know. I was not there. But what I do know is something you said is absolutely true. It is ridiculous that we continue to wake up day after day reading about, seeing video of, learning of, witnessing, whatever the thing is of another Black life being taken in some type of officer-involved incident. Does crime and chaos and killings happen in other areas? Absolutely. But we're talking about what we're seeing right now, which continues to dominate the news. And I also believe, you've talked about this before, Lauren, I believe the media has a role in this, right?
They do.
I believe, and this is just, being a member of the media, I think that we have a responsibility to do a better job. We looked at the Chauvin murder as the murder of George Floyd and the Chauvin murder trial as if Derek Chauvin was, somehow the only one to be convicted of killing someone. The officer who killed Laquan McDaniel is sitting in prison right now. And we should have said that what we need to do, media, is recognize that we need to be reporting on all of these stories so that, because I felt like so much weight was put on this. And Lauren, had this trial not ended the way we all thought it should have, I think the city would have actually erupted, And I think that because so many felt as though nothing has been done or that finally, and Flame touched on this, I think that we've got to do a better job of asking more of our officers. We have to do a better job of asking more of those who employ them to have them properly trained. There has to be something other than every interaction with an officer ending with the loss of life, particularly those of color, period. It just can't be the norm.
Well, my thing is, I think training is a component, yes, but I think at this point in time, accountability is more important because I don't think, and this is my opinion, I don't think that when police officers go into training, you have these people saying, I'm training you to kill Black people. I don't think that's the narrative. I think that subliminally, yes, once you are integrated into the force and you go on your ride-alongs and you're getting, trained from other cops or whoever your partner may be, I think, kind of those things erupt. But I think at this point, accountability has to be more so at the forefront than the training because cops aren't held accountable. We've talked about qualified immunity, even to the point where Amber Geiger is trying to appeal and overturn her conviction this week of Jean Botham, that she got these 10 years saying that, it was unjust and it was unfair because, she was having a bad day. So accountability and qualified immunity at this point are going hand in hand for me. It supersedes the training because unless those two elements are actually addressed, the training is kind of null and void. You can train someone to be a great officer, but honestly, if they're racist, like Flame has said, you got Crazy Billy going into these urban communities, not knowing how to de-escalate situations because they're just scared all of a sudden, by their circumstances. It's not going to work. It's just not. So that's more so what I want to see. And I think go ahead.
No, we talked about, we're talking about these incidents. We literally were just talking about President Biden. I wonder too, how much this has played into his, because there's been no focus. Everything has been focused on so many other things that he's been able to kind of, I think, in many ways, stay beneath the radar, because the Chauvin trial literally has dominated everything that we've been thinking about. And Black people are still moving and operating in a space of fear, right? So we don't have time to sit there watching everything that Joe Biden is doing if we've got to worry about air fresheners hanging from our rearview mirror, if we have to worry about, a warrant being served and it escalating, that we call the police because someone has come to our house with a knife to attack us, and then we end up being the one shot. There's just so much happening constantly that I feel like so many African Americans just on alert, or people of color are just on alert the entire time that they just can't relax, that they just don't have an opportunity to relax, Yeah,
I don't know if that's ever going to change, honestly, unless something drastic happens, whether it's a bill or new policy change. I don't think that Black folks in America are ever going to not be on edge, especially in areas where there's rural communities. I mean, even here in Los Angeles, we just had an officer-involved shooting where they're saying that, I don't know the full story, but a police officer ran down a car and then ended up running over somebody in Los Angeles. And we're one of the most liberal cities here. So, and I don't know the full story. Yeah. So guys, don't quote me on everything because it's not a topic, but I'm just saying across the board from, if you want to talk about blue states and red states, policing and officer involved shootings and police brutality, it's across the board at this point because it's happening too often. Like I said, I'm tired of waking up and hearing about another case. We can segue this into Andrew Brown, of what just happened today. I just saw that the officers refused to release the body cam footage. Now all of a sudden they did. They let the family view it, and it's only 20 seconds of what happened. So this is what we talk about, holding people accountable. So Nick, if you want to break down this story too, please.
Yeah, we're talking about North Carolina sheriff says that he wants the body cam footage of Andrew Brown Jr.'s fatal shooting to become public, but he was being overstepped by higher agencies. He filed a motion to have that video released. Brown, a 42-year-old black man, was shot and killed Wednesday by a sheriff's deputy as they tried to serve him with an arrest warrant. Meantime, body camera footage of that police shooting has been released. So now people are having a chance to actually see that. Lauren, I think this is something that definitely has become a residual effect of the Chauvin trial. Mm-hmm. I genuinely believe that the reason so many with Ma'Khia here are pushing to release video is because I think they understand that the best disinfectant is sunlight, right? Whatever, let us see this video. I think that's the reason why we saw the video so quickly with Dante. I think that's the reason why we're seeing this video so quickly with Ma'Khia. I think that's the reason why we're seeing this video so quickly with Mr. Brown. And you notice how they released that audio and the video of this other shooting, yet another shooting of where the officer gave the guy a ride home before coming back later that day. And I think that was Isaiah Brown. So it's just, it's a lot.
I don't think that it's fully transparent. I don't. Mm-hmm. So, and I say that because even with the, trial of Derek Chauvin, there was other body cam footage that we never saw until the prosecution actually brought it as, an exhibit of evidence. So they say that they're releasing this body camera footage, but in my opinion, I'm noticing there's always another angle or another video that's actually not being shown. And even in the case of Andrew Brown, this body cam footage that was released, it was only 20 seconds. That incident was definitely longer than 20 seconds. So where's the rest of the video, and why is it that you guys don't want to show it? Is it doctor? Right. What is it? And that only adds to the distrust that Black folks in the community have, or I'm just going to say people of color too, because, we just had Adam Toledo who was murdered by the police in Chicago. People of color in general, that's why there's a lack of trust within us and the police officers, because when these officer-involved shootings happen, we don't get the full story. And it seems like we never get the full story unless we're able to get to the point of a trial where charges are brought. And 9 times out of 10, that's not what happens. So,
and Lauren, aren't we past the point where, shouldn't we be past the point? Why aren't we past the point where in order to get this justice or some type of recognition, it takes people marching in the streets? Why isn't it just part of the process that these things, one, aren't happening, and two, when they do, it should not take communities coming together to march in the street in order to fight for their share of justice. And I think that has to change, which may begin with one of the other topics that you brought up to talk about today with the DOJ.
Yeah, honestly, Nick, I'm tired of seeing protests. I'm tired of seeing the signs. I'm tired. I woke up like my heart was just so heavy today. And it's unfortunate that we continually have to protest, and I'm reaching to a point where we might have to shift. Everybody was mad that Colin Kaepernick was kneeling. He was blackballed from the NFL for that. But wouldn't you rather us kneel at this point than have to have all of the outrage that we have? I don't know what has to happen, and I don't never want to resort to violence, but it's almost at a point where we have to start doing unto them as they do unto us, to maybe that we see a wake-up call. Chris Cuomo said that, cops are going to have to start killing white kids in order for us to actually have any type of new police reform in any aspect. And honestly, day by day, I'm really starting to believe that, because Black bodies just don't matter at this point. They're just proving to us more and more that they don't care about these Black bodies, especially kids are getting murdered now. Like, how do you have a 16-year-old girl that's robbed of her life, and then you try to poke at her and deny her of her childhood innocence? She's a child. So to treat her as if she's anything such just adds to the ultimate problem that we see every day, that they just don't care. So I don't know.
You say that too. Flame and I, when we were first talking about this story, because one of the things that we're reading, young woman killed, young woman. I said, Flame, that young woman she's like Nick.
She's 16. A girl. She was not a woman. She was a girl.
Yeah.
And had her childhood innocence robbed. that's just how I feel. I just don't know if marching is going to be good enough anymore. It may have to be something else that we have to do. So, what are your thoughts? Do you feel the same way?
Oh, I think justice should be equitable across the board, and it's ridiculous. But I also say this, when you're just talking about how Chris Cuomo's comment, it also reminded me of something, similar. I've talked about military service. I believe that until everyone has skin in the game, people won't appreciate those who have served. I really do. And I think that until every politician's child has to serve, I think that you'll be much more circumspect in decisions to send young men and women off to Afghanistan, Iraq, second and third tours of duty. I think unless everyone has skin in the game, people are not invested. I think everyone has to have a skin in the game in education. Everyone has to have skin in the game in housing. Everyone has to have skin in the game in healthcare. Until we're all in it together, it can't be a some versus others game. It can't be less and more. And I think that, unfortunately, there are parents of a different hue who don't find their children in these situations. And because they don't, they're having a harder time aligning with those of us who often find ourselves in these confrontations with police that don't end in a positive result. Just that simple. And I think that people need to understand. And I think there are people who have empathy, but I think they have a hard time truly aligning and recognizing, because I think they do the but for. Well, if you had just, I've seen Lauren, and, she talks back a little bit. So I'm sure she mouthed off to that officer. Why couldn't she just, or, Nick is kind of big and he is kind of dark. Why didn't he shrink himself? And why didn't he say, yes, sir? And I say this to you, Lauren. I think I told Flame this. I told you this. The story that bothered me the most in the last 2 months was definitely that lieutenant who I felt like did everything right. I saw myself in him. I would have, yes, sir, Mr. He did everything but tap dance, and it still wasn't good enough.
I'm going to open it up to the Flamettes. I know somebody that wants to come in here specifically because she's been throwing flames up this entire time. Hey, Miss Jess, how are you?
Hi, Miss Jess.
Hi.
We got 1 minute. Y'all got 1 minute. I've been waiting on y'all to bring me on, but now I only got 1 minute. I'm on borrowed time.
Here's the thing, though, because I know people have a blanket statement to have certain feelings about people of a different hue, which my husband is of a lighter hue. Not all people are bad people, and not all people of a certain job are bad people. Because yes, you do come across bad people, because I've seen it. Some military people are not as nice as others. I've experienced that. But I tend to, as a civilian and as a mother, I tend to tell, hey, you know what? I don't appreciate that, because my daughter serves and I'm also civilian. You shouldn't be, that's not how you should act. But that's military. Law enforcement officer, how do you tell them, hey, you know what? Your attitude is wrong. Or, what you need to, readjust how you're thinking, because that is coming across badly. It's hard to address that. Yeah. So when they, and that's a problem. So there's systemic problems within the structure of the police department, but there's also problems within a person's personality, that they're not fit to do that job, period. Some people are just racist, period. And she's right, they are. And those are the people we need to weed out. And when people use the buzzword defund, I go, oh, okay, you're overly sensitive to that. Okay, how about restructure? Organizations go through restructure all the time. You know that. All of us know that, because we've been through it with our jobs. There's always a restructuring of some form or another. If they're laying off people or they're investing, it's always a restructuring of some point. So let's restructure them then. Reallocate funds and restructure the system, period.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I do want to bring in one more Flamette before we go into our other topics. I'm going to try and get somebody new. We'll see how this works, though.
And while we try to bring her on, I think Ms. Jess touched on something. We've talked about this one. We've talked about language. Language matters. Mm-hmm. Is it restructuring? Is it reform? Is it, what do we do? But what we recognize and what we can do is agree on a common set of factors, mm-hmm. that policing in its current form needs to change.
Right.
Period. How we do that, what we do, I think should be a topic of debate. And I think that people should have an opportunity to decide how they want their communities policed, particularly those who seem to be the ones who are most often victimized or finding themselves on the wrong side of interactions with police.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just I'm very tired at this point. I just feel like in a lot of ways, yes, Ms. Just touched on a lot of important topics, but I just feel at this point in time, we can't keep doing the same thing that we've been doing because it's just proven that it's not effective. It's not working. So we got to do something different.
You guys, we were also talking about how, Garland, our Attorney General, is opening an investigation into Louisiana Police Department on the premise of Breonna Taylor's murder. The Justice Department is opening a sweeping probe into policing in Louisville, Kentucky, over the March 2020 death of Breonna Taylor, who was shot to death by police during a raid at her home. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced this on Monday. Garland also announced an investigation into the tactics of the police in Minneapolis following the death of George Floyd. So this ties into what we were talking about. It seems as though the Justice Department also recognizes that, hey, we have a problem with policing. And this was part of a promise that President Biden and Vice President Harris made, that they would look into this, that there were communities who are being disproportionately affected, and that they are taking a lead on that. Hey,
yes,
welcome.
Indeed. So hi, George. How are you?
Hey, how are you today?
I'm good. So let us know your thoughts on some of our topics that we're discussing here today.
Well, I'm sitting here and I got to be honest with you. I've gotten very emotional during this because, being a Black man, Nick, we go through it anyway, and I hear all this stuff about the system and, I'm fed up. But I also understand that if you don't attack the system and try to work to the system, nothing's going to get done. I mean, the only thing I could think is that we need to protest now. We need to find an effective way to protest, adding some kind of overseer for the overseers. Okay. I mean, what I'm thinking is maybe somebody, and this is just in my head, that responds to calls right along with the police, but they're there to monitor what the police are doing and also act as a liaison when they need to be to help calm down a potential victim or a suspect so that they don't die. Something that works. Maybe that's not the answer, but we have to start somewhere. Maybe somebody to monitor the cams, that's the outside entity from the police. Mm-hmm. They're monitoring, those body cams have to be on. It needs to be the law that they're on and they get monitored by an agency that's not tainted by the system. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say, okay. I know Nick kind of just gave an overview of what Merrick Garland's doing in terms of investigating at least Louisville Police Department, and he's also doing a similar investigation in Minneapolis due to George Floyd being murdered. So my hope is at least this is maybe one of the many steps that needs to happen to actually hold police departments accountable, because I know during at least President Barack Obama's presidency, he actually followed up with different police departments to get body cam footage. Obviously, when Trump came into office, all of that subsided. But hopefully we can actually start getting back into holding police departments accountable. And I think hopefully that'll start to set the norm of them holding each other accountable, because I feel like we've said this, nobody wants to be labeled a racist, in this day and age. Right. Nobody wants to be labeled as, oh, you shot a child, you're whatever that entails. I don't think that that's any narrative that anybody wants at this point in time. So hopefully
that, Lauren, and I'm gonna tell you this too, Black folks are really good at holding each other accountable. Like, we know right from wrong. Flame has talked about this before too. Yep. If something is wrong, we have no problem saying, "No, brother, you were wrong."
That's not right. Yeah,
right. Because we often, I think more than any other group, we often feel as though we carry the burden of everyone else.
Hi, George. I did take you. Okay, so let's go to North Carolina. Y'all do know that they are doctoring. They are being surgeons right now with those videos. They're altering those videos. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why they didn't release it immediately, because when it's something like that, you immediately release it to prove your innocence. They're not trying to prove the innocence. They're trying to have the guilt.
Well, only 20 seconds of the body cam footage was released. It's only 20 seconds, too.
Those from last night. It's bullshit. Let me say what I got to say. It's bullshit. I don't care. I know they're doing all this. And I said they're trying to get 10. And this will not stop. Marching ain't worked since the 70s. All this live podcast and we mad and we stomping a hump. It's not going to change anything. When the color of the fruit that Billie Holiday sang about on the tree, the strange fruit changes to a different color, then it'll stop.
Right.
I don't know what y'all need to, how y'all need to receive that, but I know what I mean when I say it. But y'all need to understand that I'm not promoting violence, but bitch, we got to do what works for us. Because let me tell you something. They ain't tired. Are we tired? Because they ain't tired.
Well,
I said I'm
don't know,
tired.
but I think we need we need some form of the same energy the Black Panthers had back, because you talk about hand jewelry.
They're changing too many laws, George Monty. We're not going to be able to have the Black Panther experience because we haven't even got past the Lynching Act. They just passed the act for the Asian hate, and we've been fighting with Black hate for years, and ain't nothing passed. Understand me. The agenda is when they're done with us, they're going to the next group. They're just starting on the next group because they're getting rid of us fast enough. Understand, somebody is going to have to take a stand and stand up. I don't know what the outcome will be, but stay ready. That's what he said. Stay ready. I do have my hand jewelry. I don't know if you got yours, but get your hand jewelry.
I'm trying.
I ain't talking about no ring or no bracelet.
No, Flame, I think that is something, though, that we should acknowledge is that the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill has still not passed, and it's been over 200 years. And while any type of hate towards any race is not acceptable, but in some ways, and we talked about this too, in terms of, allyship, that it seems like, Asian hate has become more prevalent, and it seems like more is being done on that front than what has been done for Black folks, because we've still been fighting this fight for so long. So I definitely hear what you're saying. Go ahead,
Lauren,
George.
Not to interrupt you, but don't you think this Asian hate thing is a little overblown when you consider, like Flame said, what we've gone through historically? And even if you talk to Asians right now, they were upset, but it wasn't like people were killing them dead in the street. You know what I'm saying?
And they never marched, and they never protested, and they never rioted, but they got their bill passed. Understand me.
Well, I'm going to say this too, though. If we're really just going to talk about it in systemic racism, the Asian community is not viewed as problematic for our society, meaning that, and it goes back to even some of the turmoil that we have between, the Black community and the Asian community. The Asians are smart. They worked from nothing. They were able to, acclimate, or I should say assimilate into society and actually be those that help enhance society. Black folks, on the other hand, we're lazy. We're not smart. We're problematic. Even in the Asian community, they have generational wealth. They don't have to suffer through the same thing that we do because they take care of one another. That's just how they are.
A lot of their wealth came from exploiting the Black communities.
And that's very true. Absolutely. 100%. But I'm saying,
let me tell you why they are not looked upon as a threat. Because we worked for free for 200 years. That is why they're upset. We're not working for
over
free.
400. Over 400.
Well, okay, I want you to pay me for everything I fucking do. And I mean that. And I'm not walking to no podcast. I need to be said. I'm messing with Sophia, y'all. When they were getting free labor and master could go to the slave quarters and get his row out whenever he felt like it, and the white woman in the house could go and call Big Henry to come in and put it down on her, and his pullout game wasn't what it was, and she told him that he raped her and they cut his penis off, shit ain't changed. It's not about penis envy or any of that. I don't understand how you walking around here talking about you hate somebody because of the color of their skin. That shit is learned behavior. They teach children to hate. Little kids see other little kids and know that they look different from them, but you my size, so you my friend until you do something that I don't like. It ain't got nothing to do with you being a different color of my skin. They need to erase all these racist bastards off the planet. And I'm telling you right now, until we stop, we got to stop being scared of the cancel culture. They always tell me, Flame, you're going to get canceled. I ain't got started yet, so cancel me now because I ain't even got started yet. We got to stop being afraid to speak up. Speak up. Oh, they're going to cancel me. We get so accustomed to making this money and so used to living our lifestyles, and we become complacent that we stop fighting. I'm not going to stop fighting. If I ruffle your feathers, then I'm supposed to because you have ruffled mine. I have a Black son. I'm a Black man part of the day and a Black woman the other part. I don't want to be shot because you are afraid of what I look like because of the color of my skin. I can't change this. I changed a whole lot of other shit, but I can't change this. I cannot change this. Neither do I want to. It is unnerving to think that every time you pulled over by the police, your heart is jumping out your chest, and then they put their hand on your heart and say, "Why your heart beating so fast? You scared?" Of course I am. I'm terrified. Because am I going to make it home because you stopped me because I forgot to signal a left turn? Am I going to get home to my children? Yeah. Because I'm a black man or black, whatever you see. Whatever, because I don't even know if they even see the sex. I think all they see is the black badge of honor.
Black. I speed dial every time I see a cop behind me and those lights go on. I speed dial my family. I have it programmed into my phone now because you just don't know.
And I'm tired. I'm sorry, George. I don't mean to cut you off because I only got a couple of minutes. I'm tired of apologizing. I'm tired of well, they're gonna do better next time. I'm tired of forgiving. I'm tired of taking your shit. When you talk crazy to me, I talk crazy back to you. If I can only die once, but so can you.
So on that note, George, I do want to say thank you so much for chiming in. We're going to keep Flame just a little bit longer because she's busy, but we appreciate you coming in and joining the conversation.
Love you
so
guys.
thank you
Love
so
you
much.
Bye, my Georgie Porgy.
So Flame, since we got you for a couple more minutes, I'm going to turn it over to you to see if there's any other specific topic you want to discuss.
I want to talk about Georgia. I mean, not Georgia, because I'm in Georgia. I want to talk about California. Who y'all voting for governor?
Okay, so let's take it there.
Hold on, he hasn't been recalled yet, so we don't even know that that's going to happen.
No.
I'm
he
voting
has.
for Gavin Newsom anyway. That ain't what I'm talking about, Nick. I'm talking about this other
Caitlyn Jenner. So to start,
microwave training, that nigga.
So let's start. So there has been enough signatures on the petition to recall Gavin Newsom. Let's start there. So that is a thing. Has he been officially recalled? No. Right. But there are enough people in California that are upset with this man that now we have somebody like a Caitlyn Jenner coming to say, "Oh, I'm going to run for governor."
Let's go to her. Let's start at her source.
Go ahead.
This is the same trans woman who the SB gave a courage award for wearing a fucking dress. First of all, if you're gonna give a queen a award for wearing a dress, at least let a bitch wear cute dresses. That should have been me. I wear cute dresses. That's first. Secondly, courage for what? For coming out and becoming a microwave trainee in 20 minutes to say that you are standing with the LGBT community. She has never done anything for the community. She did shed light on the community, but RuPaul has been doing that for years. And that's on the gays, not on the trans girls. And she was supposed to be a trans girl. That's second. Thirdly, she said she was a Republican. She got right on Diane Sawyer when she came out to say, "Oh, I used to dress up in women's clothes and go to bars." And now, being a tranny for many, many years, if you dress up in women's clothes and go to a strange bar, men are hitting on you because you a big old man in a dress. When they think you a big old man in a dress, they think you got a big old penis to match it. So all that she never had sex with a man was not one lie, not two lies, but three lies right in front of American people. Then she said she was a Republican. She lost me then because ain't no GOP ever wanted to do anything for the trans community. And I'm not talking about the gay community. I said the trans community. They are using this man or woman as a pawn to make a fool out of because they can, because the pimp, Kris Jenner, I said it, the pimp, Kris Jenner, then pushed this fool out there. Instead of Caitlyn Jenner running for office, she needs to stop running over white women in Malibu and killing them. Now, the family then got paid off and said that they still support her politics, even though she killed their auntie. Let me tell you something. That check cashed and cleared because that Kardashian money is long. I said what I said. I would not vote for Caitlyn Jenner because Caitlyn Jenner is not for the people or by the people, but she is about to be used by the Republican Party like a maniac. They're about to use her. I will vote for Gavin Newsom again. A, he good looking. B, he got plenty of money. And C, he Nancy Pelosi's nephew. And you know I love Nancy Pelosi. Okay, that's my piece. That's what I had to say. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll just say this. I hope that California as a whole has learned its lesson from our previous movie stars turned governors that have not gone so well, i.e. Ronald Reagan and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Or president, exactly. So hopefully California learned its lesson. But like Flame, yes, I will still continue to vote for Gavin Newsom. I understand that every governor has its issues, and he has been caught in some controversy, especially around COVID. But I'm not ready to recall him by any means. So Nick, go ahead and chime in.
Yeah, and wait, before you come in, Nick, let me get, because I got 2 minutes. Let me get this point out. And here's the disrespect that came from the media. When Caitlyn Jenner killed this woman, because he ran over and killed this woman. I don't know if he's trying to put his lipstick on or fix his eyeshadow. I don't know what the hell he was doing. But when he ran over this woman and killed this woman in a car accident, Then he ran and got some breast implants. Don't you know that the news made the breast implants bigger news, headline news over this woman dying because he killed her in a car accident, and then it just disappeared. Now, had that been somebody black like myself, who don't have his means or his money or his reach and power, that ran over a white woman while trying to put on my lipstick that I don't have none on right now, I bet you that the cars wouldn't have fell in my place. I could have went and got some titties. It wouldn't matter. I could have went and got titties and everything else. It wouldn't matter. I'm telling you, there are two different Americas that we live in. Everybody's afraid to speak up about it because everybody's worried about the cancel culture. You can't cancel me because I ain't got started yet. Understand me? I ain't even got started on y'all yet. I'm telling it all. I'm telling it all. Come on.
Go ahead, Nick.
Well, the upside is, since Jenner is running, California, as we all know, loves their celebrities because many consider Arnold Schwarzenegger to be one of your most successful governors. And Ms. Jenner has also talked about the importance of recognizing that there are issues that affect the trans community beyond. It's about more than LGBTQ. Her exact words were, and we've heard some of this before, that there are bigger issues to fight for that include all people. Trans people are much more than the letters of the alphabet.
Well, baby, let me tell you something. That means the bitch is stealing anyway. Because guess who said that on the Breakfast Club in November of 2019? Flame Monroe. I said they're not going to see us until we see us. And there's so many more issues for the trans community to fight over besides a pronoun or a bathroom right. And now she want to steal my shit. I wouldn't vote for that nigga in my name, boy name, girl name, cat or dog. No, thank you. Let me tell you something. And if y'all got any sense, y'all better stay away from that Kardashian coochie. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. Chris is the head of it. You know she used to mess around with O.J. Simpson back in the day. Let me tell y'all something. That coochie is tainted. It make black men cut off white women's heads. And it make white men turn into white women, i.e. O.J., i.e. Caitlyn. Okay, I'm out. Flamettes, I'll get you back. Bye.
Bye, Flame.
And just to put a button on it, the campaign to recall Gavin Newsom has not officially qualified for the ballot, but both sides expected to. Elections officials are sifting through petitions submitted by proponents to see if they contain the required 1.5 million signatures of valid registered voters. They expect challenges, and proponents say they submitted about 2.1 million signatures to make sure that they not only met, they exceeded the required number.
Yeah, I did see reports too that the Kardashian family is not formally endorsing Caitlyn Jenner, and they said that they're not going to formally endorse any candidate. However, like I said, I just hope that California learned from its mistakes. I would be curious to see how this plays out, though. If Caitlyn Jenner gets 1.5 million signatures, no lie, I'm gonna be a little baffled. I really am. I'm going to be baffled.
I think, though, Lauren, it's a state that loves celebrity. So I can see it happening, and California is easily the weirdest state, right?
Don't throw shade.
I lived there too many years. Trust me, I know. And I had a graduate advisor said, Nick, it would be in your best interest to leave California. You need to go east. That's why I ended up going to graduate school in Boston. It's like, you've got to get out of California. I was spending too much time with Larry Kramer and the others and ACT UP and all of that. So I was deep in the heart of all of it and realized that something needed to kind of shake up there. But an election would likely be held in November. Mm-hmm. It would consist of two questions. Should Newsom be recalled, and who should replace him? And Newsom cannot put his name on the ballot to replace himself. So we'll see what happens. I definitely can say this. There'll be a lot of money thrown into it. You know that, don't you?
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. Caitlyn Jenner's got a lot of friends, so we'll see what happens on that.
I'm talking about the ads you can expect to see on TV. Every other commercial will be an ad. Every other commercial will be an ad for the governor's race. I think Mary Carey is running. I remember, again, when recall of Davis, that all the celebrities came out. The one who, I forget, Gary Coleman ran for governor. Mary Carey, Angeline. Lauren, are you old enough to remember Angeline?
Yes, I am, Nick.
Angeline. So it's like everybody. I remember the billboards everywhere. Like, whoa, Mary Carey. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out.
Let's talk about Brett Kavanaugh, because the news that came out today, boy. Go ahead, Nick.
Justice Kavanaugh ruled in a Supreme Court 6-3 decision that children can be sent to jail for life without the possibility of parole. The Supreme Court on Thursday upheld the sentence of life without parole for a juvenile offender in a 6-3 decision, rejecting arguments that such sentences should have additional limits. Justice Kavanaugh penned the decision for his conservative colleagues, holding that, quote, a sentencer will not have to make a separate finding that the juvenile offender was incapable of being rehabilitated. So it used to be that you had to say, oh my God, this person can't be rehabilitated. He's like, no, don't need to do that. We can go ahead and sentence them. Age ain't nothing but a number.
I have to say that the fact that Brett Kavanaugh was leading this, I think, is an absolute joke, considering the fact of all of his mistakes and past transgressions that he's had, that even, came to light regarding him being.
Remember, none of that happened, Lauren, because we never got the opportunity to have an official investigation. They never, allowed that to go forward.
I think it's absolutely appalling that this man of all people on the Supreme Court is saying this, and to say that children can't be redeemable. And isn't it interesting, too, on the heels of Trump exiting the White House, a story that hasn't really been covered is the fact that Mitch McConnell took these past 4 years to line all the circuit courts, all of these racist white judges with these lifetime appointments. And now all of a sudden we're going to start to see all of these children who are people of color going to jail for life sentences. This has all been very strategic in what the so-called justice system has been doing. So the fact that Mitch started it, Trump laid out the red carpet for this to happen. And now you have Brett Kavanaugh, who is also another Trump pick, is saying all of these kids can go to jail for lifetime appointments. I'm appalled. I really am appalled.
I think I'm going to say, I have asked this question. I wish Flame were here before now, because I do believe children are redeemable, but I understand where they are, because, we just talked about the 14 and 16-year-old in DC who carjacked that guy. Should they be thrown in jail for life or be given the death penalty? And I'm like, I think that there's space to save some people. I believe there's possibly, but I understand people are like, nope, they take a life or they do this, they need to be locked away, throw away the key, burn them. I get it. Like, there are people who feel that way about Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm like, he's 17. I have to believe.
No, he's not redeemable. Absolutely not.
You're like, no,
not
got
him.
it right. He is not redeemable.
The thing is, though, Nick, it's more to it, though. It's not just about kids being redeemable, because yes, you'll obviously have kids making, may commit some crime or whatever. It's more so about
I think that's being a kid. I think kids do
you make mistakes
things.
But the more the important part of this that I don't want us to miss is the fact that, let's say a kid does get arrested, because we talked about the 6-year-old boy who picked a tulip on his way to school and then ended up having a whole trial. The fact that we're going to have kids who are people of color being arrested, and then you have parents who can't afford to provide them with attorneys or provide them with actual proper legal counsel. So they're going to be sitting in jail anyway, not even being able to get their day in court. They're going to be in there for life anyway. And that's the sad part about this. And let's say that you do get the opportunity to go to court and plead your case. You can't provide proper legal counsel for yourself. So you're going to end up getting these life appointments for petty crimes, or even in a situation where you're not guilty. You might have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time. So this is just setting us up to continue to pour more money into the private prison system, because every time a bed is filled with a body, somebody else is getting a paycheck. So this is all a part of a greater systemic cycle of racism that is just getting bigger and bigger by the day. That's what this really is in full view. So that way we're not missing anything. This was a ploy that's we're seeing it play out in real time.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how this how sweeping this decision affects people that I think that they're not always considering, because I don't think that I don't know. I have no idea, but I don't think they considered the Kyle Rittenhouses of the world when they wrote this sweeping decision. I think that, like you're saying, I think that it may have been focused primarily on communities that are most oftenly disproportionately affected by the criminal justice system. And I think we know that, like you said, Lauren, they're just people who do not get the representation that they deserve. Ben Crump can't come to everyone's home. He can't.
You're right. Yeah.
And now, mind you, the minute, heaven forbid, I'm gunned down, or please connect him with my mother. We can, so that at least Miss Rosetta can get a check or two, and and do all right. But it's one of those things where everyone should not have to pine for Ben Crump, nor should everyone have to need him. But unfortunately, I think that the simple truth is, unfortunately, should one find oneself in a confrontation with law enforcement that does not end positively, all one can do is to hope to have that case visibly displayed and have some type of civil justice be the punitive effect landing on those who were the perpetrators.
Yeah,
That's
and
it.
I mean, and I want to clarify too. I don't think kids can be redeemable. I think that's definitely a thing. I still stick to what I said. I don't think Kyle Rittenhouse is redeemable because he's too far gone at this point. But my point in saying all of this is it's past kids being redeemable. There's a greater subliminal issue here than just kids being redeemable. It's more to that than at this point, based on what this Supreme Court decision was led by Brett Kavanaugh. So
I'm totally with you. I'm not comfortable with children being tried as adults.
Absolutely not.
I don't believe a 17-year-old mind. I don't believe a 17-year-old mind is fully developed.
Is Kyle Rittenhouse 17?
My opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a kid.
No. I think he should be tried. I'm sorry. That was when in situations of
like,
intent.
I'm
sorry. In this situation, I'm sorry. We part ways on that. He's 17 and intentionally drove around state lines to shoot people. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, no, not go across state line. Bring guns across state line.
He shot people too, though. Yeah.
And get water and assistance by it. Let's make sure we're clear. Hey,
exactly.
I'm the one who just shot that guy. Can I have some water? You okay? Yeah.
Right.
You mind if we go to Burger King?
Because similarly, Nick, is Dylan Roof redeemable?
Dylan Roof, but he's in his late 20s. So he was
like 20 though when it happened though, right?
I want to say he was like 25, 26. Like he was old enough where he knew better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, shoot. Kyle Rittenhouse knew better too. That was intentional.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. And we don't try to get anybody to change their mind.
We just simply try to get you to use your mind because, as Flame will say, you got to have a mind in order to be able to use it. In her opinion, a lot of people don't. So anyway, but as always, you can find Flame on Instagram at Monroe Flame, or on Facebook, she is Marcus Flame Monroe Parker. On Twitter, she is Flame Monroe. Nick, where can everybody find you?
At Nick Smith News on all social media platforms.
Yes, indeed. And I am Lauren Armani H on Instagram, as well as Lauren Hogan on YouTube. And don't crucify me. I know I haven't uploaded a couple of episodes, but as y'all heard, we've all been very busy, but I'm going to play catch up this week for sure. So as always, thank you guys so much for joining us today at Laugh and Learn. We appreciate the input. As always, you guys can send Nick and myself DMs if you want to make some suggestions into some topics that we can talk about, or if you just have feedback overall for the show. As always, like, engage, comment, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we appreciate you as always. And thank you for joining. We will see you guys next week.
Laugh and Learn is a production of the Black Effect Network and iHeartRadio.